First story titled, "Wife Cheated on Me with My Bullying as an Ex-Older Brother Addict, Breaking My Mother's Heart and Ruining My Life." Later, she revealed that she married me for a visa, a job, and money. But I am stronger than I thought. I moved to Lake Tahoe in the spring of 2013 and met a Bulgarian girl who was on a work visa who I fell madly in love with almost instantly that summer. I'm a pretty calm guy. But when it comes to girls, whether I am attracted to them or not, I get nervous instantly and lose my cool completely. However, when I first saw this girl, I will call Lily, I knew I needed to get her attention, no matter what. The first few weeks were awkward, trying to pass her my number and just waiting for her to call me. I had almost given up completely and was actually on a date with a Japanese girl when she texted me, asking if I wanted to hang out. I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I pretty much dumped her, the Asian girl, and I drove straight to Lily's apartment to pick her up. One thing led to another, and we became what some would say call it cool for the summer, because we knew she would go back to Bulgaria after the summer ended. We were like best friends who agreed and liked everything each other did. We would go to bars and people would ask us if we were dating, and we would kind of look at each other blankly and shrug because we really didn't know anything either. We talked about it, but we didn't think the label made the short time we were together any easier. A few months later, my mom, who lives in Idaho, told me how depressed she felt. I told Lily I wanted to drive right after work to go see her for the weekend and be back in time for my next shift. She wanted to come with me, and I thought, sure. A road trip with this amazing girl is something I will remember forever. Bottom line, we got there and my mom and her get along great now. It's time to go. As we get in the Jeep, my mom comes out, grabs me by the arm and says, "You have to marry this girl." I was shocked that my mom would say that because she's never really supported either of my past relationships, and now she's telling me to marry a girl she met that weekend. On the 8-hour drive back, we first let what my mom said sink in. We toyed with the idea, and before long, we were so excited to get married. We almost detoured to Vegas and got married that day, but thought better of it because she wanted to go back to Europe to finish school. And we found out through other people that for some reason, it takes longer to get a visa for someone if they're already married instead of engaged. Fast forward again to October, and she's back in Bulgaria, and I moved back to Idaho. And we're doing everything we can to get her back with all the thousands of dollars we raised, legal papers we filled out, and court hearings. It took just over a year to get her back all the time. We fell asleep together on Skype, and we just couldn't wait. Well, we finally got her down, and I drove all the way to San Francisco to pick her up because, boy, doesn't it have an international airport? And with the layovers, I would have spent the night at the airport. I'm just summarizing the backstory, so readers really understand how betrayed I was on November 9th, 2014. We got married. I'm not exaggerating when I say that. When I looked into her eyes, it was the most magical moment of my life. I didn't expect it at all because the wedding was so small and low-key. It was just my mom, my little brother, and his girlfriend. Months later, she and I were going through depression. I don't know why it seemed like we were sick all the time, and she started getting nasty to me. It used to be that I couldn't do anything wrong in her eyes, and everything I said made her laugh now. Anything I said or did would upset her, but I was so in love with her, I would just let her walk all over me. She never did anything in case she cooked for me, or I even brought her stuff because she was too lazy to get out of bed. As time went on, I started noticing a trend. I would share everything with her, and she would literally write her name on things she wanted exclusively for herself. Food, shampoo, laundry basket. One day I just asked her, without thinking much about it, mostly as a joke, "How come I share everything with you? You never want to share anything with me?" She told me that I just did that to get it on, guys. I had never raised my voice at her before, but what she said pissed me off so much. I got up and pushed her, thinking about all the things I do for her daily without even asking thanks. She looked at me and just said, "Nice," before I left work. I excused myself for putting my hands on her, and I told her that was very wrong of me, though. FL, if that's what you really think. And ever since this day, I found out she was cheating on me. I always had a small amount of resentment towards her deep down in my heart that just turned my heart toxic. After a while now, for the naughty part of the story, I'm sure you're more interested in that my older brother, who is this self-proclaimed Christian who at the time was very family-oriented, constantly guilty, making me and my little brother feel for not doing things with family that he felt we should be doing. This guy is Mr. Holy Holy, but he's clearly a sex addict. When I was little, he would always shove adultery magazines in my face. And when I got my first smartphone, he couldn't wait to tell me what the best adultery sites were. First clue, he's mistreating me all my life. The physical and psychological torture was his method. The older he got, the more it disappeared. But his gigantic ego, he was still the same, no bigger. So sometimes in the comfort of my own home, I would have negative things to say about him. Lily always seemed to be the one jumping to his defense whenever I would say those things. Second clue, every family gathering, like holidays, birthdays, or anniversaries of my dad's death, it was always about sex with him. You see about sex memes, about sex in old movies that talk about sex. All the music he listens to, like XXX for Christmas, one year. He gave my wife a copy of the book, 50 Shades of Grey. Third clue. Clue. Like I mentioned before, Lily is from Eastern Europe, and her ways were just weird. She would kiss guys on the lips in front of me, so I thought, hey, I think that's weird. But clearly, she comes from a culture that is very touchy. That's good. I couldn't help but notice later that she was very touchy with my older brother, to the point where my mother came to me crying and told me that she was afraid that my brother and her were playing my little brother's girlfriend. She even came up to me with anger in her eyes, saying she thinks she kissed my older brother at my mom's house. I got pretty mad at my mom and my little brother's girlfriend for suggesting something like that would be going on. First of all, I want them to talk about my wife like that. And second, Ryan is my brother. Would he tell me if she was trying to do something? I mean, after all, he is a moralistic Christian who cares too much about family sometimes. Apparently, I almost mentioned it to Lily, all that people have been telling me. But I thought better of it was because I didn't want to hurt her feelings about how my family felt about her. But I started picking up subtle signs that we were getting along. Never loved, but the SX became a trickle when I got into bed. Yeah, I even brushed up against her. She withdrew. So I started getting suspicious. Then, the day I found out she and I were in really good spirits with each other, which I think made her let her guard down. We were seeing Good Mythical Morning on YouTube, and she was putting product in her hair, which made her pause the video to go wash it, and she said she'd be right back. Well, she finally left her phone unattended. I'm thinking about myself. I can finally calm down and see that nothing bad is going on. I could allow the flirting. 'Cause we were all human. But what I saw in myself was so shocking and perplexing. I couldn't believe what I was reading. This is my first post on Reddit, so I'll try to have the text linked somehow in a moment while reading. I got so angry I couldn't see straight, and reading almost became impossible. I quietly walked into the bathroom, and I asked her what her relationship was with Ryan, and I could see the silhouette of her head through the shower curtain below from embarrassment. It was at that moment that my life became a literal nightmare. I was numb after the initial shock. I didn't say anything to her, but wow. I drove out to the middle of the desert. I sat down and looked at the mountains that the sun set. I would say I feel like sleeping out there. But sleeping is a huge exaggeration. I slept on the floor for weeks in hindsight. I should have made that bee sleep on the floor, but that just goes to show how much I had a soft spot for Lily. And sadly, I still do. Even though I don't love her anymore. One day I was so angry when I came home from work and saw her sleeping peacefully in bed. I almost jumped on top of her and started punching her face with my fist. It was one of the scariest moments of my life, because I literally felt like I was being possessed by a demon. I locked myself in the bathroom and cried harder than I ever have since I found out the older I've gotten, the more sensitive to smoking weed I've really become. I get really anxious if I smoke too much, but tonight I needed to smoke a mug and after bowl to put my air on the ground to avoid hurting her. I have always been a very intuitive person, and how high I was just exploring the recesses of my mind. And I was getting so angry thinking about what always happened to me after everything we had been through to bring her here. But then that brought me to the great memories, and it was like my anger was completely overshadowed by the love and happiness it brought me. I told myself that love really conquers all, that I could really forgive her with all my heart. I was so excited by these feelings that I literally went from wanting to beat her to death to waking her up and kissing her and telling her that I still wanted to be with her, as I was. I told her the next day about my revelations, and she didn't seem very excited about it. I assumed it was because she was still ashamed of being caught as a cheater. I wanted to go on a road trip with her like old times, and I did a plan to go to Oregon on April 20th. She agreed to not only the trip, but also to try to make our marriage work well throughout the drive there. She was acting very distant. I tried to rub her leg like she used to, and I could feel how tense she was, and like clockwork she started treating me like crap again. The only time she was nice was when we were at the dispensaries and she was excited about all the weed she was buying well. Anyway, on the way back, we were stopped at the border by the Idaho State Police with amounts of weed, far in excess of a misdemeanor. Long story short, I told the officer the truth from the start, and instead of charging me with a felony and arresting me, she only charged me with a couple of misdemeanors. I remember turning to Lily and telling her, no matter what happens, I'm happy to be going through this with you. I was expecting something like from the movies, where she turns to me, and the sun shines in her eyes, to let me know if she feels the same. What I got was, yeah. I guess at that point, her little matter what they did would never work out again between us driving back. I was so distraught, and Lily was floating on Cloud Knoll when I got home. I fell deep into a depression. DLE, I was just watching TV and laughing, like nothing happened. My mood was raining on her parade, and she asked, "What's up?" A fatal instant. "What's up? What's up? You've really ruined not only me, but my family. Now I'm going to court for taking you on a trip that I was hoping would rekindle our flame. But it ended up making me feel for you even more. Now I'm getting mad." And I said, of all people, "Why, my brother, do you love him?" or something like that. Silence. I turned her around and asked her once again, "Do you love him?" She just looked down and said quietly, "Yes." I slammed open my glass closet door and cut myself pretty bad. Then I said quietly, "You might want to get out. It's getting ugly." And as she was leaving, I yelled, "No, you came back. Unless you're grabbing your chingasraum to get out of there." She left. I taped paper towels to my arm to stop the bleeding, which only did so much. I took my R's to Walmart, dripping blood, and everything, bought some bandages, huge black trash bags, and a giant can bin to put all her. I'm sure the people at Walmart looked at me like I was crazy, but I was having one of those days. I had blurry tunnel vision and didn't really care about anything or anyone. I got home. I put some records in and started packing her. I labeled the bag socks, shirts, various, wearing the only copies of pictures from our wedding. She came and picked it up the next day, and I've only talked to her maybe twice since, just because we still had to go to court for the marijuana charges. And each time she destroyed me. You're the really messed up part. I can't even look at past family pictures with her in them, because it's literally her and Ryan side by side in every single picture. Not only that, but I just can't look at past pictures in general because Ryan is in over half of them. So this is like 25 plus years of stuff I now need to forget. And on top of all that, I got a new laptop to start over. So I didn't have to look at pictures or videos of her. And when I went to export the pictures from my phone, I somehow got pictures from my older brother's phone. I saw the thumbnails, and I thought, this looks like an adulteress on closer inspection. I saw they were pictures of Lily. I prayed to God to take pictures. I forgot to take. When I clicked on them, I saw the room didn't look familiar to me, to be franco. My penis doesn't look that weird, and there were dozens of pictures of my brother and my wife that would make Hugh Hefner blush. That was in April 2017. I'm sick of it since I tried loss. One night stands like in my younger days to fill the void. The void just got bigger and bigger each time. I guess that's what happens when you were really in love that time. Even in the middle of a fling with a random girl I met, I stopped and told this girl to go away because I was so disgusted not only with her, but with myself. I've become some sort of tortured artist. I just cut out pictures from magazines and stuck them all over my walls and everything else to pass the time. It's actually quite therapeutic. I've become a recluse and only venture out to work and buy groceries. Most days I stay home and cook in my sadness, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. I may update if anything has changed, but I will say it felt amazing writing this. It has reopened some fresh wounds. It was like getting this off my chest. Thanks for listening. Read it, P. I'm not really sure how to link the photos to the store. So if anyone can help me with that, I wouldn't mind sharing in the comments. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear this happen to you. I don't know how he sleeps at night. I don't know how your brother lives with himself. I myself am a Bulgarian woman. I was also in my summers on a work visa and was in a relationship with an American man. However, things went the other way. I stayed ridiculously faithful throughout the relationship, including the 80 months we were long distance, only to find out he had been cheating on me the whole time with a succession of women, including girls we both work with also, as a Bulgarian. I can tell you that kissing men on the mouth is not accepted or appropriate. A kiss on the cheek from a friend. For sure, a kiss on the mouth never anyway. When I found out the truth about my relationship, I felt like poison was running through my veins, and I thought I would never recover. In fact, it hurt me for maybe a year. I was bitter, angry, hurt. I had flashbacks, dreams, etc. Divine. What finally I realized that this was the best thing that ever happened to me, because my life is beautiful right now, and everything motivated me to improve and set goal. I learned to love myself. Your situation is much more painful than mine, I admit it. But I promise you it will get better. You will be fine. Believe in blessings, and guys, please stay strong and remember that you are the most important person, and that it is never too late to change your life. Lots of love and positive vibes from Bulgaria, PED. I am ashamed that she is a fellow Bulgarian. Go your comment. It is really very helpful. It is as if you could really put yourself on my level, knowing all the work it takes to get a life. It is a big slap in the face, and I know exactly what you mean with the poisonous feeling you have. I felt as if my insides were dissolving in my body, and I could feel myself aging twice as fast from the stress. No joke, I started to have white hairs in my beard chin after all this. I wouldn't necessarily say mine is worse, compared to yours. Besides the fact that it was with a family member, because cheating stinks no matter what. I really don't know how they live with themselves either, but after seeing those pictures of them together, I really doubt they are as embarrassing as they should be. But when my brother looks around and doesn't see anyone, especially on vacation, I'm sure he will feel embarrassed, even if just for a moment. As for her, it really gnaws at me that she won't go back to Bulgaria. She got her green card literally on July 4th 2 years ago, for me. My money. But she refuses to leave. She probably wants to be with my brother, and is enjoying her high manager job that I helped her get the slaps in the face. Keep coming. I'm normally a very optimistic person, and I told my friends and family that I wouldn't let sadness challenge me for about 10 years. I realized that even when bad things happen, that take away the good things, they force me down a path that I normally wouldn't take, and that ends up giving me better things than I had before. I came up with my own saying that the best smelling flowers grow from the worst smelling. For a while, I did pretty good with that, but I'm only human, and eventually my sadness got hold of me. It started to swallow me up. I have a good friend who is dying in front of me from cancer. A couple other friends who are drug addicts, and mine are I'm so far away I can't talk to them. Plus, this whole situation hurt my family, especially my mom, because she loves Lily with all her heart. So now I can't even have a conversation with my mom. That leaves me with a cloud of sadness. I come home to empty walls and an empty bed. I wake up and it's like a punch in my stomach every morning. I wake up with all this, on top of the stress of work, paying all the bills, and trying to get out of debt. It left me alone. Really tested my positive attitude, and I fear the bitterness is winning out for now. However, I am thankful for this website because I can talk to people all over the world like you who know what it is like. I don't feel so isolated anymore. I woke up to your comment, and I mean it when I say it really gave me hope. We are proof that not all Bulgarians are ice-cold snakes, and not all Americans are heartless bastards with only one thing on their mind. It will take me a long time to feel like myself again. I honestly hoped this situation would change me so much that I will never feel like myself again. I am glad I had a very hard life growing up, because if this happened to me after I grew up, with little to no pain, I think this would completely destroy me. My point is that at least this will call my soul to us for the next time life decides on me. Thanks again for your story update on our oppression. I've been on an upswing and trying to keep the momentum going, give my story a chance to inspire you. In April of this year, I found out that my wife, my everything actually, who is from Europe, not only cheated on me, but she did it with the only person I truly looked up to, my older brother. I know I really leaned on him for emotional support after our father died of cancer in 2012. I'm sure most of you know how complicated your feelings get after being cheated on. But imagine adding the awkwardness and splitting up of the whole family. Just writing this and reading it in my head, I feel a panic attack coming on. But that doesn't matter, because I want to tell my story to lead by example. BTW. Even if this doesn't matter, I help you vote. You think this could help someone. Most of you know what it's like to feel isolated in your personal problem. Some posts I read on this sub make me sick because it would seem like some people are just here to enjoy having self-pity parties over the most trivial things. I'm trying to find a post I can relate to, and I'm reading stuff like attractive people annoy me because they get all the girls seriously. You know what it's like to have the conflicting emotions of hate and love you have for the people in your life, using your mind as a battleground. You know, the desperate, insecure feelings of being betrayed in every way imaginable, all on top of watching your best friend slowly die of cervical cancer. I'm not here to have a pissing contest with anyone whose life is sadder, but it would seem so pathetic on this sub, in my opinion. Back to my original point. The last week or so, I've been doing well emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and even physically, because I'm actually eating like a normal person. I don't just have to endure the pain of my living situation, but I have to see the worry on my mother's face because I always had dark circles under my eyes and barely spoke. Not to mention I looked so anorexic. I could literally feel my mind dissolving me as a person. And I was sure self-harm was inevitable until a week and a half ago. I felt like that could never change. I also don't think I'm a naturally happy person, because I was diagnosed and medicated for severe depression when I was 14. And now 29 for the record. I eventually stopped taking the medication when I was 19, because I didn't want to rely on it anymore. I really resisted it emotionally, because I wanted to get out of the dark hole I was in. I feel like that early lesson is what's helping me. Now, I don't want to go through the whole story of my depression due to cheating and my sick friend, because I already made a huge long post about that a while back. So if you are really curious, I'm sure you can find it in short. I was tired of being sad, mostly because I could see my mom stressing me out. A very rough childhood and teenage years. I grew up with mental and physical abuse. That was a constant threat to my father when he used drugs. It got so bad that my mother and I had to leave everything behind in our hometown to run away to a state we had never been in before. To hide all that is the new awkward team that started school in semester M. You are likely to have some emotional issues later in life. That thought led to another thought of a bad experience, which led to another. I was getting depressed, just opening those scabs up again. But then I realized how I feel now about those moments. How I grew as an adult. Experiences changed me for better or worse. The conclusions I was coming to blow my mind. It's like I've lived multiple lives and completely forgotten about them until now. My whole life has been based on tragedy. Those tragedies took a lot from me, but in a strange way, as they have given me much better things. I'm drawing lines way back in the past, and I realized that if these certain bad things hadn't happened, I wouldn't have the great things I have today, whether it be wisdom or social opportunities. I have to tell you, I almost got excited to be going through these tough times now, almost LOL, because I decided right then that I was going to let them make me, and not break me. I'm still sad every day. Even after these revelations, my mind wanders, and I get really angry, or I get really depressed. I identify that that's what I'm feeling, but I don't play into it. I realize that I feel sad, but I won't be sad, if that makes sense. In other words, I don't embody sadness. I'll let depression be a byproduct of how awful life can be, but I won't become a byproduct of depression now. Just because I realize this doesn't mean there aren't moments throughout my day where I don't have to remind myself of that. Far from it. Actually, it's a daily struggle, but a struggle I plan to win. I'm in a good place right now, and I hope it lasts, even through the lonely holiday seasons coming up. Even as I type this, I'm listening to the Tallahassee album by the Mountain Goats. If you don't know who he is, no, what's that? The guy writes a lot of concept albums about his divorce that still cut me like knives, but just like we're all in the subconscious of depression to relate to someone. I related to the music. Obviously, I'm not bitter anymore when I listen to it. It's more like a therapy session for me. Hours. That the stories of everyone's mental state and views on life, they differ from one to another. What works for me, many don't for you. But if my story inspired at least one person, I would be pretty pleased. If you have any questions about my post, or you just feel alone and need someone to talk to, don't be afraid to send a message. It wouldn't hurt. Who knows? It might make you feel better. Life doesn't suck the world if I'm done letting the world control my feelings. Who's coming with me again? Even if this didn't help you personally, if you think this post can help someone, give it an upvote. Please support each other, instead of dragging each other into the deep dark hole of depression. Stay safe, guys. Second story. Second story. I'm scared. My former life as a SX worker will ruin my relationship with my boyfriend. He doesn't know, how can I tell him without ruining our lives? So he doesn't find out himself, and ultimately break up with me. I did his ex job for about 3 years and left just when I met my boyfriend, who we will call James, and I met in March 2024, and he pulled me out of the worst depressive state I have ever been in. I am so thankful for him. James is the sweetest man I know, and has never shown me any signs that he doesn't like the girls who produced that content, if that makes sense. I stopped doing it all after being in a depressive state for a year and a half. I had sites and many other accounts where I posted. My only problem is that I have a hard time keeping secrets from someone I love. I just don't want my past to haunt me, or sink me into a deeper hole of secrets. Although I believe couples should be able to keep certain secrets from each other. I think this is too serious a secret to hide from your past. But this has been a huge weight on my shoulders. Only a few of my friends know I did this. I do find it hard to ask them for advice, and I would like to get an unbiased opinion. Sorry. If this is too long or doesn't make sense, I'm just trying to express my thoughts. What do you think would be the pros and cons of this situation? How do you think I should approach it? Any advice is helpful clarification from the author. I apologize if my post made it seem like I was doing an X job at 17. Not that's anything better, but I was 18. It's for him here, and I didn't check my post comments self-inflicted in March 2024, is when you should have told him. Today is the next best day. Oh, I would rather tell him in person, but we can't see each other for a week or two. 34. Given you are getting bad, unrealistic advice. I'm going to be frank. You have been hiding something from him that would be a deal breaker for most people. That being said, you stopped right when you met him, that fact, I think. And it shows that you are genuine with him, and hopefully if you lay it out right, everything will be okay. Tell him the truth, and I will explain to him that it was a bad decision that made you terribly depressed. Explain to him how much he means to you, and how you stopped doing it as soon as you got together. I wish you luck. You seem like a good person. Oh, thanks. I tried to tell him when we first started talking. I was going to bring it up, but my anxiety got the best of me since it was so new. 34. Could you try writing down what you want to say? I said beforehand. I found out it can help with anxiety as well. Keep the conversation concise. Definitely do it in person. That way, your sincerity will come across to him, and he can misinterpret what you're saying. But I try not to make excuses when the time is right, and when I can see him again, I will say something. Update. 19 days later. If you haven't seen my original post, it is here where I asked, how should I tell my boyfriend about my past? I told him I needed to talk soon, and he asked if I should be nervous about this talk. So I got the chance to tell him this Sunday. It was really hard for me to come out. It took me 5 minutes of my stuttering to get it out, and he took it really well. He told me that while I care about your past, I care more about who you are now, and what we will be like in the future. I am here for you, and I don't see you any different than I see you now. That was very paraphrased, just to add some more cheesy and lovey-dovey stuff. This really shook me to my core, and I am so happy I found someone who is willing to love me for who I am. I am so thankful to everyone who had something helpful to say. It helped me a lot. He knows I have read it. So soon I will show him that post. I just want to say, again, thank you all so much. Edit. I am aware that this sounds like and everyone claps or an update type thing. You then woke up from your dream, but sometimes good things happen to people, and just because you don't see it, often doesn't mean it never happens. Thanks for watching the video. If you are interested in hearing these kinds of stories, we have more for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, press the like button, and share it with your friends.